Hi everyone! Welcome to Stat Talk Podcast NSM series brought to us by the Philippine Statistics Authority or PSA. I am Ted Cordero from the GMA Network. Please join me throughout this podcast session as we learn and share interesting thoughts about statistics. This is a special Stat Talk episode in celebration of the 36th National Statistics Month with the theme Accelerating SDG Pace of Progress, Mobilizing Data for All. For another series of a special Stat Talk podcast episode, we have special guests who will be with us for the whole duration of our program. Please welcome ANS Rachel Lacsa, Economic Sector Statistics Service of the Philippine Statistics Authority, and Mr. Naoto Kanehira, Senior Digital Development Specialist from the World Bank Group, and Dr. Peter Julian Cayton, Associate Professor of Statistics at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and Chair of the Forecasting, Econometrics, and Time Series Research Group.
Good morning, everyone. Sir Ted, Sir Naoto, Dr. Peter, and to all our viewers, Happy National Statistics Month.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for invitation. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you, everyone, for having me here today, and happy 36th NSM for everyone.
Alright, before we start, let me thank everyone for your support. Despite your busy schedule, you made time for this special podcast, to make this special podcast possible. So moving along, our topic, collaboration among governments, international organizations, media, private sector, and academe in building data ecosystems. We'll be highlighting the partnerships that enhance data sharing, transparency, and collective impact. So to start our first question, how does the NSM, the National Statistics Month in general, aim to promote collaboration and knowledge sharing among statisticians and data professionals?
Okay.
Ms. ANS.
Thank you, Sir Ted. So the National Statistics Month is celebrated every October to highlight the importance of statistics in nation building. It promotes collaboration by bringing together the government agencies, private sector, international organization, the Academe, media, and other partners through forums, workshops, exhibits, and competitions. And one of the activities for the NSM is the National Convention on Statistics, wherein it serves as the biggest platform in the Philippines for statisticians, data practitioners, policymakers, researchers, and others to exchange ideas and experience in terms of statistics. So it promotes collaboration through the various different sessions wherein the presenters shares their technical expertise, showcase their innovations and best practices. It also fosters knowledge sharing from the participants from the presenters to the participants.
How about you, Mr. Naoto?
Thank you. So, as I understood, NSM aims to exchange cutting-edge practices of advancing statistics to meet development goals. The overarching theme is a timely one, accelerating SDGs pace of progress in this challenging time of divisions and fragmentations and tension. So we are excited to be participating and also contributing because mobilizing data for all is close to our heart. The World Bank also contributes one technical session for the sorry, I forgot what they call it. NCS, yes, NCS. It's on reinventing government statistical processes. We will hear from Professor Paul Chan, who is the former Singaporean chief statistician, on innovative practices of data exchange and integration in an ecosystem environment with analytic agility and platform synergy to improve efficiency and impact of decision-making processes. So for those interested, check it out.
Academe, the National Statistics Month is celebrated by different kinds of talks coming from academics in the field of statistics, and also student activities done to promote statistics in the different universities of the country. Specifically with the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and University of the Philippines, Los Baños Institute of Statistics, we organized the Faculty Student National Convention on Statistical Sciences, where faculty and students share a lot of ideas beyond the NCS in terms of development of statistical methods, the application of statistics in different spheres as well.
So we heard how the National Statistics Month aims to promote collaboration and knowledge sharing from our government, the private sector, and the academes. NSM statistics is actually a very challenging topic for us, the media, because it's our job to properly communicate heavy data-driven stories, and it's too difficult for the public to digest. So we really need a collaboration among the government, the private sector, and the academy. So how we can effectively communicate, deliver this information, and we can possibly relate this to the general public. To better understand our topic for today, could you share and describe with us your experiences with multi-sector collaborations in developing data ecosystems?
Yes. In my own experience, building data ecosystem requires openness and mutual trust across sectors. For instance, in agricultural statistics, we work with line agencies, with attached agencies, private industry association, and international organization recently to update definitions and conversion rates of selected agricultural commodities. And for our next phase, we are also set to involve the Academe for this collaboration. With the international partners, we need them to ensure that we align with the global standards when we are updating our definitions and parameters. With the private sectors association, of course, it's important that we collaborate with them for their data, for their actual data and experiences in their day-to-day, say for palay milling recovery, in their day-to-day milling, in their day-to-day dressing and slaughtering for their livestock and poultry, since we're updating agricultural parameters. And this experiences highlights the value of collective expertise in solving complex data challenges.
Mr. Naoto.
Sure. So at the World Bank, as one of the international organizations, we both operate at the global level, collecting, researching, and publicizing on global data, as well as support the country's governments to build better data systems to advance the development objectives. So if I could, let me describe 3 examples what we are doing in the Philippines. One is on agriculture. So if you want to manage food supply chain, you need accurate data on land cover, irrigation coverage, production, imports, stock levels, wholesale and retail prices, consumption rates, and on and on. It's a lot of data. So the data needs to flow across local, national, and global levels. And data also have to come from across statistical, geospatial, and farms trade and farmers' household levels, especially if you want to expand the service coverage and accuracy based on weather intelligence, precision farming, and having the proper smallholder farmers to undertake assessment. So it's one illustration of how cross-cutting data has to flow. Let me add 2 quick other examples. Another is disaster risk management. To mitigate, prepare for, and respond to the disasters, you need national hazard maps, local reconstruction plans, early warning systems, and real-time response mechanisms. When multi-sector data collaboration work well, farmers can benefit from resilient infrastructure planning and can access things like index-based crop insurance. Let's turn to another adjacent sector, social welfare. So when disasters hit, many agencies need to coordinate to deliver food assistance, medical assistance, educational assistance, and cash assistance. And beyond the crisis response, data also need to help well-targeted and efficient service delivery. If you are a beneficiary of Pantawid Pamilya Filipino program or 4Ps program, you can receive your cash grant conditional to sending your kids to school and receiving health services. So DSWD needs data from DepEd and DOH. And if digitalized and automated, it should be a matter of a few days. If it's manual paper-based compliance verification process, it would take a few months. And beyond 4Ps, if you graduate, then you should be able to access skills training and jobs opportunities if TSWD, TESDA, DOLE, PSA, CHED, all of these agencies can exchange data. So all of this data, when data has to flow across sectors, public and private data systems need to communicate and understand each other, and it has to be based on common protocols and standards. Or in other words, the data ecosystem has to have this data interoperability. And this is not very easy because all agencies, private sector companies, and various institutions have built their own systems and data in their own ways. And it's been a challenge. We will turn back to the challenges and opportunities when we discuss more later. But that's, I think these examples help illustrate the full potential of building good cross-sectoral data ecosystems.
On that topic. How about you, Dr. Cayton?
So for the Academe, I'm just going to be sharing some of my personal experiences. So for example, in terms of generating new statistics, the Academe has been part of this consultative group, whether it's from PSA or from other statistical agencies. So for example, the Bangko Sentral and other institutions. A good example is I also work with the PSA as a representative of interagency committees and technical working groups, which collaborates with different agencies and different sectors of the communities and private sector as well. More recent activities that I've done, the way that the Academe works is we collaborate recently with local government units and with local departments to create certain kinds of databases. Much more recently, we would like to see and assess the impact of the creative industry. And we collaborated with the PSA and also with the DTI, Department of Trade and Industry, in terms of creating this database of how do we measure the impact and the state of creative industries in different cities, and looking to expand on that in future work that we do in the Academe.
Thank you for your for sharing your experiences with multi-sector collaborations. For the media, in my own experience, when we are doing a story, especially PSA releases on inflation, labor, or GDP, we also need to get insights from the Academe. We ask professors of economics and also from the private sector, because World Bank Group also released their forecast about the how the economy will move forward in near term, short term, medium term, long term. But as Mr. Naoto mentioned earlier, there should be a data interoperability. So we have, in my own experience, we have the difficulty in reconciling various data from different agencies, because PSA says one thing but another agency says one thing. So I think there should be more collaboration, I guess, within the government itself, and a collaboration among the private sector or the multilateral institutions and also the academy, so that there will be a uniform communication, a uniform story that the public can better understand, so to avoid confusion. For our next question, what are the key benefits of fostering partnership in data initiatives among the government, media, international organizations, private sector, and academic institutions? So, ANS Rachel?
The benefits for cross-sector collaborations are clear. I can cite 3. First is better data quality, because inputs are coming from multiple stakeholders. There are more people vetting. And second, efficiency of resources, whether it is human resource or technical resource or financial resource. When there are multiple stakeholders involved, we can pool these resources. Third, and the most important, is trust in statistics. When people see that there are multiple sectors or multiple people are involved in the process, their trust are improving also. That's why in the PSA, whenever we develop a new methodology, or for instance, we are developing a price index, or whenever we are updating our sampling design for our survey, we ensure that we engage technical expertise from the Academe. We hire them as technical consultants to help us develop the design or the methodology. And after that, we develop the methodology. This undergoes to the vetting of the technical working group. I heard Dr. Peter mentioned earlier, the interagency committee, and then before the approval of the PSA board. So there are a lot of sectors checking, vetting. That's why the confidence in our statistics are improving.
How about Mr. Naoto?
So the benefit of partnerships for data ecosystems. Why try to build data ecosystem in the first place? We say there are three key benefit streams of better data. One is greater accountability and transparency. And for that, the scope of partnership is not just public, private, and academic, but civil society, the individual citizens are going to be very important. That's the first. The second is better policies and government services. It's evidence-based policy making and agile, citizen-centric service delivery, which is also responsive to economic crisis and other kinds of shocks. And for this, as described earlier, different government ministries and agencies have to be able to exchange data, and interoperability tends to be challenged. The third benefit stream is about economic growth and productivity growth and stimulating job creation. And this is about primarily industry data, private sector data, industry's use of data. Don't also forget not just firms but farms, agriculture. But public-private academic data ecosystem would enhance the comparability, the scope, complementarity between administrative data, statistical data, and big data, non-traditional data, which the official statistics cannot be as frequent and as complete, but with potentially biased and not representative, right? So the intelligent way of triangulating various multi-source data would enable industries and farmers to benefit from the data-driven generation.
How about Dr. Cayton?
So I'm going to be writing on the statements coming from the ANS and Mr. Naoto. So it's really with respect to, for one, having these collaborations, we're able to have a way of citizen science. So I do believe that these data partnerships are able to facilitate this discussion of open data and open methodology and open science and participative science, especially in terms of how people may learn about their institutions, their government, their people. So these kinds of activities and partnerships are really going to be benefiting in terms of really facilitating a more democratic society. Checks and balances are going to be facilitated once you have this open access with data, and to capacitate coming from also the academe in terms of the skills and also the discussions. Another one, much more closely related to the academe, would be the generation of knowledge, the generation of new information and new techniques in statistics, because the real world is really a laboratory for these kinds of new ideas and new techniques in statistics.
Thank you for your answer. So we heard our research person talk about the key benefits of fostering partnerships. ANS Rachel mentioned about trust in statistics. So where there are multiple partners working on a data, so the trust in that statistics increases. So because it was vetted, it was peer reviewed, I guess. Mr. Naoto talked about greater accountability and transparency. Yeah. When there's collaboration, where there's partnership, more and more stakeholders or partners are accountable for that data. Dr. Cayton, he mentioned very interesting thing about participative science. So, and new knowledge generation. So, when people are more informed and data ecosystems are more developed and more accessible, it could be a healthy pill for a working and healthy democratic society. Moving to our next question, which is directed to ANS Rachel. So, as part of the government sector, how does PSA collaborate with international organizations, private sector media, and Academe in terms of data projects?
Okay, so at the PSA, collaboration is part of our DNA. We cannot fulfill our mandate without collaborating with them, the international organization, the private sector, most especially in the Academe. With the private sector groups, we explore data sharing agreements. We collaborate for their actual data, for their actual experiences. Aside from them being our resource person whenever we conduct studies and researches, the private sectors are mainly our survey respondents. So it's our main business to collaborate with them. With international organizations, we also have regular collaborations for the conduct of international or worldwide statistical initiatives. For instance, we have an ongoing collaboration for the International Comparison Program. The World Bank is the global implementing agency, and the Asian Development Bank is the regional implementing agency, particularly for the Asia and the Pacific. The PSA regularly involves or participate in the conduct of this international comparison program. And with the Academe, we engage them, as I mentioned earlier, in research partnerships. We hire them as our technical expert whenever we develop a methodology, whenever we have to improve or something design. So it's more of research partnership, capacity building, and internship also. With the Academe, we engage them in regular press briefings. Sir Ted, you know that you're always present in our inflation rate press briefing. We also do media briefings to ensure that the media captures and reports our statistics accurately and responsibly.
So for follow-up question, what policies or framework are in place to encourage data sharing and innovation across sectors?
In the PSA, we follow both international and national frameworks. For the local framework, we have the Philippine Statistical Development Program, or the PSDP, which outlines the medium-term priorities for statistics. The PSDP involves not just PSA but the whole Philippine statistical system. So we have the NGAs, the LGUs, the Academe, and even international organizations. And then we also adhere to the international standards like the UN Fundamental Principles on Official Statistics and the Open Data Initiatives. These frameworks encourage data sharing, interoperability, and innovation while safeguarding confidentiality.
So the next question is for Mr. Kanehira. In your view, what motivates international organizations to share data or collaborate with the government and academia?
So, two different ways. Now, international organizations normally are motivated to ensure international comparability and curation and aggregation and analysis to inform the global policy debates. So ICP is one enabling mechanism for that as well, and we also have statistical capacity building programs. So we work with national statistical offices across the world to make sure that everyone, the policymakers in the world, have good data, enabling us to compare countries, aggregating regions, tracking the global progress or not. So SDG and its indicator framework is one key pillar for that. But given that we also work at the country level, so we go back and forth between global and country level, we help countries sector by sector development work, where data is the key enabler to policy making and implementation monitoring, so that we see opportunity to improve data. So we also try to support country by country and also aggregate and inform on the global normative technical discussions on what constitutes good data policy. Essential point is around the trust and the well-balancing, enabling policies to encourage data sharing, but safeguarding against the risk of data. So by enabling, I mean legislative, regulatory, and technical, as well as institutional arrangement. Data interoperability is one, but encouraging or incentivizing or mandating government to share data to deliver services is another. Different countries have different legal frameworks. And of course, data privacy protection, cybersecurity, national security related concerns, all of this. So making sure that economic societal value of data is extracted and shared and materialized, as well as the citizens' concerns about data privacy, cybersecurity scams, the national surveillance schemes or the potential misuse and breach of data, what's the consequence of that? Do we have the right system to protect my individual rights as a data subject? So this is not an easy topic to establish single best global practice. All countries vary, and there are different levels of international cooperation. So we try to go back and forth between global, regional, and country level to inform better policies as well as better use of data for better policies.
Can you talk about, maybe share with us how World Bank Group uses data from maybe PSA, from the UP, in maybe deciding which projects will you support, like ODA or ODA grant loans or grants projects will you support?
I would say for all projects we use PSA's data and any other data sources. But I mean, for example, so we work with DFWD, we work with DA, we work with DOST for disaster risks. A couple of examples I mentioned, we also work with DICT on broadband, we also work with what are major others, DA for agrarian reform and the land plot. The multiple data sources we aggregate. PSA is always one of the most vital sources, but of course we complement with other data sources.
Thank you, Mr. Naoto. To share from a media perspective, from the view of reporters, what motivates us to collaborate on data sharing, especially with government and private sector, is that we want our numbers, our data to be accurate and how do you call it, flawless or foolproof, I guess, so that we can better communicate with the public how these data, what's in it for them. So moving on to the next question, Mr. Kanehira, how do you address issues related to data ownership, intellectual property, and competitive advantage in cross-sector collaborations?
Well, thank you for asking. It's a complicated question, and it's all about balancing act between enabling data sharing and safeguarding against risks arising from potential misuse of data. And it's timely because rapid technological changes our ability to handle data, and typically laws and regulations and institutions lag behind what AI, for example, could not do yesterday but can do today. Right? So the competition and intellectual property and ownership, these are all interrelated but distinct issues, so we need to unpack and examine a little bit. On data ownership, so globally there are varying views and debates on who owns personal data. And the commercial value of personal data essentially prompted arguments around data subjects should be allowed to commercialize their own data. We have a bit nuanced views that it's not necessarily compatible with rights-based approach to personal data protection. Data ownership. Globally, there have been varying views and debates around who owns personal data. The commercial value of personal data prompted argument around the data subject should be allowed to commercialize their own data. In our view, such approach is not necessarily compatible with right-based approach to personal data protection. Here in the Philippines, we don't see this debate as much as in some of other countries, but rather access and control of personal and other sensitive information is and will continue to be a major issue. This is different from issues related to intellectual property, where outputs from creative industries or input data to train models to generate something looking like creative industry outputs will regulations and institutional approach would need some updates to adapt. On competitive advantage in data-driven economy, I'd like to highlight importance of cross-border data flows as a key enabler of the global economy. Countries have varying restrictiveness in mandating data to be stored within national territory for reasons related to data protection, national security, and industrial policies on data centers and cloud services. The Philippines, together with Singapore in the region, have relatively liberal regimes for cross-border data flows given the importance of the BPO industry, which is essentially a business of processing foreigners' personal information. but the demand for the data center is increasing, and we will see interest groups asking for imposing more strict data localization requirements for the business interests. Such measures, however, would deter foreign investment, increase cost of cloud adoption, especially by MSMEs, and could harm service exports and jobs in BPO and other digital sectors. So if one thing I do want our audience to remember from policy debates that I'm trying to highlight is be careful about data localization policy. Well, thank you for asking. It's a complicated question, and it's all about balancing act between enabling data sharing and safeguarding against risks arising from potential misuse of data. And it's timely because rapid technological changes our ability to handle data, and typically laws and regulations and institutions lag behind what AI, for example, could not do yesterday but can do today. Right? So the competition and intellectual property and ownership, these are all interrelated but distinct issues, so we need to unpack and examine a little bit. On data ownership, so globally there are varying views and debates on who owns personal data. And the commercial value of personal data essentially prompted arguments around data subjects should be allowed to commercialize their own data. We have a bit nuanced views that it's not necessarily compatible with rights-based approach to personal data protection. Data ownership. Globally, there have been varying views and debates around who owns personal data. The commercial value of personal data prompted argument around the data subject should be allowed to commercialize.
With us your thoughts about sharing, addressing issues related to data ownership. Actually, personal data is a growing concerns about cybersecurity, and personal data is a growing concern here in the Philippines.
Yes.
Especially there are lots of scams right here and there. So this is actually an important thing to address, especially we are handing our data with a different party, or in particular with the World Bank Group, which is an international organization. There may be also issues like national security concerns, I guess, that may arise. Can you give us your thoughts on that? You know, you have access with our data. You know, PSA has this data, the Academe has this data. How do we? I think how can we be more comfortable in sharing our data with international partners like the World Bank, and if this data, it won't be used maybe to jeopardize or compromise national security, I guess.
In some sectors, the government operates based on the data which should strictly be under, highest security control. Only, people who went through the security clearance can access this information. World Bank doesn't need such data at all. Many government agencies also don't utilize this data at all. I mean, it's only Department of Defense, National Police, right? So such data should receive the highest level of protection, combining basics and additional mechanisms, right? By basic, what I mean is cybersecurity measures, the adhering to the standards, doing basic things like encryption. So a lot of what's going on in the cyberspace and scams and fraud can be prevented by basic processes. But certain more sensitive data should be subject to more stricter control. But it doesn't mean being very strict and trying to do excessive protection for all kind of data, which will increase cost hugely. So PSA collects survey data, PSA anonymize data and aggregate and produce statistics. There's no point of applying national security level concerns protection for data which should be open data. So there's top secret data, there's open data, and there's something in between, right? Even if personally identifiable information for recipient household of other subject for public services. When DOH, DPED, DSWD has to cooperate, then this data has to be shared. It cannot go as open data because it's personal information. But it's not national security concern. who should be targeted to receive cash transfer when the disaster hits. It's an important public service related information. Something, so that's the balance, right? Data should be shared to enable better policy and services. Some data has to be protected, but it's not blanket approach, one size fits all. There has to be a tiered, risk-based approach.
Thank you for answering, Mr. Naoto. So
Now we go to Dr. Cayton. What role does the Academe play in strengthening national and local data ecosystems?
So the Academe partners with the Philippine statistical system and also with the PSA to capacitate it with respect to human capital. So universities, of which UP Diliman School of Statistics is one of the top institutions for statistical training, provides education to produce undergraduates in statistics and also graduate programs in statistics, much more especially because in more recent years we have now programs in data science. So the University of the Philippines Diliman School of Statistics, as an example, provides a bachelor's degree in statistics, and in the graduate program we've had a professional master's in data science analytics, master of statistics, the master of science in statistics, PhD statistics, and more recently, in collaboration with the College of Science and the College of Engineering, the PhD data science programs. And again, as I've said before, we do have trainings conducted. We capacitate the PSA in terms of interagency committees, and with respect to education and training, I personally have been involved in training programs for PSA statisticians and staff, and with respect to students, I do have a lot of graduate students who are also working here in the PSA, and personally I've taught official statistics in UP Diliman. Besides that, we do also have collaborations with local government to creating databases on statistics with respect to subsectors. So for example, we're looking at starting data for a database for creative industries, to create an index on that. My research collaborations with public policy makers also looks, and local government also looks to expand that idea for disaster finance, and also with respect to preserving the learnings that we've done with collaborations from different institutions with respect to the COVID-19 pandemic. I was a part of the UP COVID-19 pandemic response team during the height of the pandemic. So those kinds of collaborations in terms of activities that are directed for public policy, for public engagement, helps us devise these manners and share these learnings in terms of devising ecosystems of data that could be publicly shared, of which people could interact and therefore have a ways to be able to learn about their country, learn about their situation, and develop also in terms of having this open discussion of science, this public discussion of ideas through statistics.
So another question, sir, for Dr. Cayton.
Yes.
What is your institution's way for preparing students to meaningful real-world, to contribute to meaningful real-world data ecosystems?
So we like our students thinking about ideas for their own research. We don't require publications from our students, but I do admit that some of our students have made publications even during their undergraduate years. So this kind of capacitating of students to interact with data through what they have learned in statistics, that is one way that we're able to prepare them with students with this changing environment of data, especially with, as we will have here in terms of the AI, machine learning, and all of those kinds of things.
Oh, we are now down to our last question for everyone. Wow, what a discussion. It's such an information overload. So what opportunities do you see? So this is more related to modern world problems. What opportunities do you see for AI, machine learning, or advanced analytics in academic, government, private sector partnership?
Okay, so there are huge opportunities. AI and machine learning can help us process large volume of data, big data, administrative data, and satellite images and the likes. So, in these partnerships, the Academe can serve as the technical consultants, as I've been mentioning earlier. We always hire the expertise of the people from the Academe. For example, in this case, in model building, in developing advanced methodologies once we have that big data. And then the private sector, of course, also play an important role because they will be the sources of this big data. For example, the telecommunications companies can provide the telecommunications data wherein we can generate tourism statistics and other mobility statistics. Also, they could provide, the retailer, for instance, could provide scanner data so that we could generate our price statistics from big data. And then the government plays also a key role because we will be the ones providing the policy environment that ensures that the data are used ethically and responsibly. So by combining the technical expertise of the Academe, the data from the private sector, and the policy support from the government, we could unlock faster, more granular, and more innovative statistics that could be beneficial to our policymakers and decision makers.
How about you, Mr. Naoto? What are your thoughts about AI, machine learning in academic government private sector partnerships?
So the opportunities are huge, and opportunities of AI would extend the opportunities coming from data. So the three things I described, right? The greater transparency and accountability is one, better policies and services the other, then there's productivity growth and those. So all of these data-driven opportunities will be cheaper and faster and actually more complicated with AI and machine learning. I think it's useful to distinguish traditional machine learning, which is more supervised learning and structured data, requiring a lot of metadata and quality data, versus what we are seeing now is generative AI, which harvests unstructured data. And depending on what you try to achieve, there may or may not necessarily be the need for huge data cleaning efforts. So, but there are the risks about it because the underlying data can be very unrepresentative and biased. So what we see is many of our counterparts across the countries, not just the Philippines, but in many countries, asking the world and support to complement traditional AI machine learning data preparedness with new opportunities with generative AI because there are immediate use cases for citizen interaction and everything. But there has to be proper training data sourced to enable solving local problems with right local data sets. Otherwise, you are sending data and importing output from the foreign model trained by the foreign data, right? So we do see the flourishing AI governance policy debates in the Philippines as well as in many countries, but we don't see as much necessary debates on data governance policy framework we need it here.
How about Dr.
So,
Cayton?
with respect to the academe, government, and private sector partnerships, we see a lot of opportunities in this one, especially with respect to us having students both from government and private sector in terms of capstone projects by our students in the data science and graduate statistics courses. We have a lot of collaborations with private sector under certain agreements in terms of capacitating their personnel in terms of how they could use and capitalize on the data science techniques, on the AI, on the advanced analytics to gain insights in terms of their internal processes. And I'm a little bit more of a careful optimist in terms of AI because AI is a tool. In the end, it's really the user of the tool in terms of how they would behave that shows how the AI is applied. So in good terms, we have applied AI in terms of at least getting some context in terms of what could be a good set of statistics to look at creativity. In some of the projects that we have done, one of our staff members were looking at what would be good context to be measurable with data in creative industries. But also you could see bad actors in AI. Because if AI is, especially generative AI, in terms of really capacitating with learning codes.
How about Dr. Dr.
So,
Cayton?
with respect to the academe, government, and private sector partnerships, we see a lot of opportunities in this one, especially with respect to us having students both from government and private sector. In terms, not every code is a good code. You could find ways to really have some not good applications of these AI, generative AI, to learn about non-ethical means of using it, like hacking, for example. There is ethical hacking, but there's also non-ethical hacking. So we have to be very careful about this. So yes, some form of AI governance is, but also hopefully also looking at data governance in the future. But that's the thing in terms of us looking at AI, machine learning, data analytics. Those are tools, and we are going to learn about those tools. That's what Academe is there for. But in terms of how they are used, in the end, it's more of really the user of the tool that really gets into it. Thank you.
Thank you for your answers.
And not every code is a good code. You could find ways to really have some not good applications of these AI, generative AI, to learn about non-ethical means of using it, like hacking, for example. There is ethical hacking, but there's also non-ethical hacking. So we have to be very careful about this. So yes, some form of AI governance is, but also hopefully also looking at data governance in the future. But that's the thing in terms of us looking at AI, machine learning, data analytics. Those are tools, and we are going to learn about those tools. That's what Academe is there for. But in terms of how they are used, in the end, it's more of really the user of the tool that really gets into it. Thank you.
Thank you for your answers.
And not every code is a good code. You could find ways to really have some.
I just have a very quick follow-up about AI use. Can you share with us, maybe all of you, or each one of you, or maybe if you can share your own experiences about how AI, maybe a real world or a hypothetical scenario, how it was misused, especially in data related generation. I mean, data statistics related matters.
Okay. For the PSA, we have used AI for our recently or the 2022 Census of Agriculture and Fisheries. We have used AI, machine learning, remote sensing to serve as a validation parameter, because we have the Census of Agriculture and Fisheries. We conduct it via the field work of our field men, but we also use the AI and the ground truthing to gather data that will serve as validation parameter. And I think it will be safe as long as there is enough accuracy for us when we use the data generated from AI. We ensure that there is enough accuracy for us to be able to say that yes, this is ready for, or this can be released, or this can be comparable with our Census of Agriculture and Statistics.
Dr. Cayton, you mentioned earlier, AI is a tool, so how can we effectively use it as a tool in generating data ecosystems or statistics?
So at the very least, in terms of using AI as a tool, because there are different kinds of AI. If we're thinking about AI that could be used in terms of at least some form of prediction, like in machine learning or deep learning, at the very least, it helps a little bit in terms of getting some form of estimates or some form of pre-estimates, because sometimes I do understand that data tends to have a long wait time, especially from different data sources. So sometimes it can be used as a temporary substitute, but once real data comes in, it can be now used as it can be revised, because sometimes in terms of sometimes there's missing data, and AI can be used to at least temporarily augment the data once it can be resolved as not missing anymore. So that's some of the uses that we can have in terms of that, yung use of AI with data. It's just temporary because we really want to capture real data. Now it could also help with respect to how are we going to aggregate or summarize fast-moving data. So a feature of big data is volume and really the velocity of it. So a lot of data, if you need to process it, you may need some aid, given that you'll still check on it because AI is not perfect. It's going to be still a tool, but at the very least, it helps to process large data sets much more efficiently, and maybe a little bit of coding if you know how the code of the AI works. So it's not all let the AI code it on its own. You need to be also that referee or that way to check, to debug if there's problems with the AI. But in those instances, AI could help us in terms of data processing, especially large data. AI could help us at least have some temporary data for missing data, because sometimes data takes a long while. But in the ethics that you will replace it with the real data later on. So it's something that we've done in research.
How about Mr. Naoto? Can you share us AI? Any last thoughts about AI as a tool in building data ecosystems?
So the AI as a tool, I fully agree. The tools, what matters is what we use it for. It's not what they do to us, right? Because it's the people, and they have to be always a human in the loop. I think that excitement and concern come from the fact that differently from the traditional automation technology, like industrial robot, which is more of manual routine tasks, what generative AI automates is non-routine cognitive work, which is essentially white-collar workers and knowledge production and problem solving. So I wasn't worried when it was only about the manufacturing plant, but I'm worried about me as an economist might be disrupted, right? So that's what it's not just theoretical things. Given the presence of the IT BPM industry in the Philippines, it earns 9% of GDP. It drives export. We have to take balanced approach when thinking through policies and services when there's a job displacement concerns, but also there's a lot of improvement opportunity for productivity efficiency, as well as upskilling people and capacitating people to take advantage of these opportunities. It should be an exciting moment.
Naoto, can you share us AI? Any last thoughts about AI as a tool in building data ecosystems?
So the AI as a tool, I fully agree. The tools, what matters is what we use it for. It's not what they do to us, right? Because it's the people.
Okay, you've heard our experts share their insights about collaboration, how an effective collaboration among governments, international organizations, and the media as well, and private sector and academe in building data ecosystem. Actually, the bottom line, what we can confirm from our discussion is that fostering greater collaboration among the government, private sector, international institutions, and the academe, and the media as well, could help build a well-informed citizenry. Okay, you've heard our experts share their insights about collaboration, how an effective collaboration among governments, international organizations, and the media as well, and private sector and academe in building data ecosystem. Actually, the bottom line, what we can confirm from our discussion is that fostering greater collaboration among the government, private sector, international institutions, and the academe, and the media as well, could help build a well-informed citizenry. Okay, you've heard our experts share their insights about collaboration, how an effective collaboration among governments, international organizations, and the media as well, and private sector and academe in building data ecosystem. Actually, the bottom line, what we can confirm from our discussion is that fostering greater collaboration among the government, private sector, international institutions, and the academe, and the media as well. This is the third series of our Stat Talk podcast session for the 36th National Statistics Month, and I hope everyone was able to relate to our interactive discussion. There are truly many reasons for us to be interested in and appreciative of discussions related to statistics. Again, thank you Mr. Kanehira, ANS Rachel, and Dr. Cayton for the time and knowledge that you shared with all of us today. We are happy to conclude today's episode and looking forward to our next NSM Stat Talk podcast. But before we end our session, may we request our resource persons of ANS Rachel.
Thank you, Sir Ted. So, whether you are a student, a professor, a policymaker, or just a curious citizen, statistics is for you. Sama-sama po nating gawing meaningful ang statistics sa buhay ng bawat Pilipino.
Mr. Naoto?
So, thank you everyone. I enjoyed this discussion pretty much, and I hope the audience did as well. Each one of you, the audience of this podcast, is now a data champion, and we have full of opportunities and challenges that we should collectively work on to make better, data to improve the lives. Happy NSM. Looking forward to seeing many of you there. Thank you.
Dr. Cayton.
Happy 36th NSM to everyone. We would like to invite you to the different activities that the Academe has. Please look at your local university or local agencies doing statistical work so that you can participate in those activities. Thank you very much.
Alright, it's a wrap. Once again, thank you and hoping to see you all in our next Stat Talk podcast. You may share this podcast video to your friends and colleagues. You could also leave takeaways from today's podcast video in the comment section. This is Ted Cordero of the Stat Talk Podcast NSM series. Data is more than just numbers.
Thank you.